Morning. Thank you very much for coming to see our presentation. My name is Tim Gabrick. I'm president of IsoEnergy. We are a leading, diversified now uranium company in multiple jurisdictions. Until recently, we were solely a Saskatchewan uranium story in the Athabasca Basin. We've completed a merger with a company called Consolidated Uranium over the last few months, taking on additional properties in Canada, in Quebec, in the United States, in Australia, and Argentina. So I'm going to get into a little bit of our story and tell you more about IsoEnergy in this very exciting uranium market. Disclaimer, there are forward-looking statements, so please be aware of that as you go through our presentation. We do believe we are built for the current uranium market. We're very highly leveraged, especially having taken on a number of new projects for the market and the uranium price that we have today. We've diversified ourselves across multiple tiers. So again, we have projects in Saskatchewan. Our flagship project is a project called the Hurricane Deposit. It's a very high grade, 50 million pounds at 34.5% average grade. So it is actually the highest indicated uranium resource on the planet. We've picked up additional projects in Canada, in Quebec, but also the U.S., some near-term production projects, and Australia and Argentina. We have a substantial mineral endowment as a result. Hurricane is again the flagship there, 50 million pounds, but all of these projects have significant resources, and we'll show you that in a little bit more detail. Our goal is to become a multi-asset producer. So we are continuing to advance Hurricane. We're looking at mining methods. We haven't advanced to a PEA yet, but we're looking at what is the best way to advance that project as a standalone mine in Saskatchewan. But we also have these projects, especially in the U.S. There's some near-term assets in Utah, past producing mines. They're smaller, but we have the ability to bring those on very quickly. They're all permitted and ready to go, subject to market price, which we believe we're now at that point that makes a lot of sense to bring them online. And in our merger, we brought on additional people from Consolidated Energy or Consolidated Uranium. We have a very deep leadership team, a lot of geological expertise, but also a lot of expertise on the M&A side, in the nuclear industry in general, and just a very strong team to take what we call basically the new IsoEnergy forward. Company snapshot, about 173 million shares outstanding. As of Friday, probably about a $765 million Canadian market cap, and we have a lot of cash. We just did an additional raise that's not picked up here, but we just raised another $20 million in flow-through financing. So roughly about $56 million in cash and about $24 million in equities. We own some additional equities in NextGen and a few other smaller companies that gives us a good working capital background. We continue to be owned substantially by NextGen Energy, 34%. We were a spin-out of NextGen back in 2016. Until this recent merger, they had 50%. They've continued to invest in the company, so very strong participation. Our board chair is on the board of NextGen. Lee Currier, the CEO of NextGen, is also on our board as the vice chair. And so just a lot of support from the NextGen folks. Also Energy Fuels, leading U.S. mining development company with assets in Utah. Very key ownership for us because they have the White Mesa Mill in Utah, which is going to be the location that we're able to toll mill our production from our Utah assets. Great coverage, a bunch of leading firms across the country that have some great price targets on IsoEnergy and a lot of good coverage coming out of our merger. I'm not going to get into this just for a lack of time too much. It's just sort of a market overview, but just the bottom line is, as most of you probably are aware, the narrative around nuclear is changing greatly, and it's been a complete shift. You see that in the price of uranium, but you're really seeing it on the global stage with things like the COP28 conference that just was that just happened before Christmas. You have 24 countries that committed to triple their production of nuclear generation over the next number of years. And that kind of thing just didn't happen even a couple of years ago. So that, as well as the geopolitical instability around the supply of material from Russia, that's still a big producer that provides material to the U.S., but there's looming sanctions on Russia. There's a lot of uncertainty around production from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and just really even the transport of that from that part of the world. So a real bifurcation of the market happening, which really solidifies our position as a company that wants to focus on top tier geopolitical areas, Canada, the US, and Australia. Really a lot of other things going on, but the fundamentals themselves really tell the story. There's growing demand. The demand story is increasing with more reactors being announced every day and people really recommitting to nuclear, and a shortfall in supply. Supply has just been put under the a lot of pressure over the last 10 years after Fukushima. No production was really developed. A lot of production was taken offline, and it's going to take some time to get that back. And there is a real shortfall and a real need for not just new production sources, but a lot of exploration and new deposits to be discovered to meet this need. We do believe we're built for the current market. IsoEnergy as a company, when you look at us amongst our peers and sort of the bigger uranium juniors, we tick all the boxes. We do have past production that we're going to be able to restart over the next months and years to come. Very high grade portfolio of deposits. We're exploring, we're continuing to explore in Saskatchewan. That's a big part of our story. And we have asset diversification, not just geographically, but geological diversification and exposure to really the top tier geopolitical areas. So a lot of geographic risk is low, or the geographic risk is low, and just a lot of stability. This is our portfolio, just in a nutshell. You see the blow up of the Athabasca Basin, more than 20 high quality projects in the basin, of which Larocque East is our flagship with the Hurricane deposit. But we've picked up projects in the US, Argentina, and Australia, some of those that we're advancing very quickly. We have a focus strategy. We have some call options, we call them. We have some very good projects that have been basically, they've had some either moratoriums or just been pushed back as far as being able to be advanced into production. And so we're going to be working on those in the future. I'll talk a bit more about those in a minute. But we have exploration in the Athabasca, and globally, development of our Hurricane project will continue. And we have near-term production, as I mentioned, in the US. Hurricane, just as again, because it's our flagship, 100% owned by us, very high grade, again, highest grade indicated resource in the world, 34.5% average grade, very shallow depth compared to other projects in the basin. Infrastructure's near, it's on the eastern side, lots of power, roads, and we're very close to the Orano McClean Lake Mill, which is key. We're looking at mining methods, how to innovatively take it forward in a less invasive way in the basin. We do have a border there with another property. You'll see on the slide on the bottom left-hand corner. The border is shared with Cameco and Orano, so there is a lot of exploration being done on the other side of that property to see what the rest of that deposit looks like. You can see it definitely doesn't end right on that artificial border, so that'll be an interesting story to follow in the months and years to come. We're also, as I mentioned, continue to focus on exploration. So we have a winter program starting right now. We're up north. We're getting drills ready. We'll continue to explore Hurricane. We've done some innovative exploration geophysics to identify some really interesting targets to hopefully expand the Hurricane deposit out to the east. Our Hawk project down to the south west of Hurricane and Larocque East is another project we're very excited about, and we'll be drilling on that within the next week. Utah, as I mentioned, is something we picked up with the consolidated merger, and these are past producing mines. They're smaller, but they're permitted and they're very close to production. We think we can have these going within the next year, and it's dependent on Energy Fuels bringing their White Mesa mill back into production, and that is expected to happen within the next year as well. These call options, don't have a long time to get into them, but there's projects in Virginia. This is the biggest deposit of uranium in the U.S. It's been under a moratorium in Virginia for decades. There's really no good reason for it other than it's been there for years. We think we're in an environment in which we can move that forward over the next months and years to come. So we'll spend a lot of time advancing that, looking to get that project into the next stage. And same thing in Quebec, great project, Matoush, that's burdened by relationships with the Indigenous communities around there, but that was really based on some of the previous ownership, and we think we're also incredibly well positioned to advance it. That's really it. I think I'm out of time, but bottom line is our winter exploration is a catalyst. We'll be doing an 250 meter program starting this week. U.S. projects, they're getting ready. We're doing a lot of work to get that production up, bring some cash flow into the company and earnings, and that will help us grow down the road as well. And we're in the right market to do it. We're going to advance not just those assets, but others in our portfolio. We've got a much bigger portfolio of projects. I welcome you to take a look at on our website. Just look at the portfolio that we brought in and combined with IsoEnergy and Consolidated coming together. And we're going to continue to do what we've just done recently, which is to evaluate other value accretive opportunities on the M&A front. We're big believers in the uranium space and where the market is, and we believe there's other opportunities to take advantage of. That's it. Encourage you to contact us. Come see us, myself and Nisha, over at our booth anytime, and yeah, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.